service vision works. Okay. One of the key concepts of like how a customer design. Now, what you have like we discussed in the earlier slide or in the last class, right? How you are designing from a company point of view, how you are going to develop a service, right? How you are going to, what is your vision, and that how that vision will get converted into a actual service, right? You start with market segment, service concept, operating strategy, then into a service design or delivery system, right? And most of the next 2 to 3 sessions, we will talk about the service delivery system. How will you design and develop a service, right? But now in this slide, what we are thinking like how a customer chooses a service, right? Not from the company point of view. Think about banks, right? Right now, all the banks will have certain kind of number of ATMs, right? And they kind of market it in their website. This number of ATMs, every city, every village, we have a ATM, right? 10 years back, 15 years back, or 20 years back, when ATMs like banks started implementing ATM, right? So that was one of the factor, might have been, right? Because most of the online payment system was not there. You have to withdraw cash. Withdrawing cash from a bank is a long term. Your half a day will go into withdrawing cash. Even if you want to withdraw 500,000 rupees, you will go stand in a queue. If it is a month end, you will not. One day will be gone and you will not able to withdraw cash. Holiday, second Saturday, many holidays and all those things are there. So you have to plan when you will go and withdraw cash. 20-25 years back, right? That got changed into ATM. So whenever your convenience is there, you go and withdraw cash from the ATM, right? So think about that time scenario. If you are a banking customer, you have an account in bank, the new bank is coming and claiming that they have ATMs across everywhere, right? You will be kind of motivated to change your bank, right? Because that will solve your problem. One of the biggest issues is withdrawing cash, right? So that is your availability, 24-hour ATM. 24-hour, 24/7 basically. Whenever you need, it is not that holidays are there or a long queue is there. Obviously, ATM also there will be queue, but at least it will be lesser than the whatever will happen in a bank. You can go at any time to ATM, right? Convenience, site location. So that's why if you see ATMs, because I'm just taking the same example. ATMs are generally most of the times will be in the malls or the near hospitals, near colleges, right? It is basically for the convenience of people, right? Central locations are required. Same thing about the kind of petrol or the like kind of gasoline stations, right? So if you want to drive 10 kilometers only to kind of fill up your tank for diesel or petrol, nobody will go. So most of the times the locations will be near the road. So you need not have to travel long distance to fill up your diesel or petrol, right? Dependability, right? So these are the few of the factors. Again, it is not that okay, it covers all the factors. That obviously will be depending upon the services. But these are the few major factors on which customers decide whom to choose, right? There will be 5 or 6 competitors for any kind of services, right? Dependability, on-time performance, right? One of the key challenge in auto sector, auto repair or maintenance sector is anytime you go for vehicle checkup or kind of vehicle repair, most of the times it will happen that it will not be rectified in the first time. You have to okay, go to that whichever garage or the service station 2-3 times, and that is a big headache for people. If let's say auto garage or a service repair station comes and says that first time whatever problem will you have will solve and will provide you a warranty or guarantee on that, right? So that is your on-time performance. Your flight Indigo part what we discussed, right? There won't be any delay in your departure. 99% of the time, there won't be any delay in departure. There will be no cancellation. For business customers, that will be, I might pay 500,000 rupees more because that is company is paying, right? But what I want is if I have a meeting at Mumbai at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m., I have to catch the flight at 10 a.m. If the flight is delayed, I'll not able to get into that meeting, right? Obviously, right now the video and all those things have come. So that is where your on-time performance will come into picture, right? See, everything has to be there, but on what basis the customer is going to choose your service over competitors, right? At least 1 or 2 points. So everything you cannot provide, right? That is guaranteed. At least or 1 or 2 point will be so good that customers will choose you. So in the next slide, we'll discuss that what is a qualifier, what is a winner, and what is a loser. But before that, these are the few factors on which customers are choosing a competitor or customers are choosing a service. Personalization, right? So that this matters a lot in hotel businesses, right? For our locals, barber shops and all those things, right? There might be 50 or 30 barber shops in your locality, right? Smaller ones, bigger ones, branded ones, right? It can range from price from 50 rupees to 5,000 or 2,000 rupees, right? Depending upon how much you can afford, right? But the point, if you see, like, even if you have money to pay, if you are like kind of rich and you can like pay 2,000 rupees or 1,000 rupees for a haircut, most of the times people go for a known barber, right? For 5 or 10 years, you have been going to him or whichever the salon, right? And they know you, they know your taste, they know how you want your hair to be cut, right? So that is where, or the hotels also, right? In business customers, like I said, business, the five-star hotels who serve those business travelers most of the times, they make sure that they have a long-term bonding with those customers because they also have multiple options. They can go to any five-star hotels, right? Why do they come to you, right? So just imagine anytime you check in into a hotel, they remember you, right? So that creates the differences. Price, quality surrogate. So that is what I used to give that example when 2 or 3 years back, Wow Momo came into our this kit road, right? So that and right now also, obviously due to COVID, that shops were no longer might not be there. So Wow Momo, if you go those to eat momos there, the prices was around 125 or 150 or 200 rupees for how many 5 pieces or 4 pieces of momo. In front of that, those small shops or small, it is not shops basically, on cycles or on those small vehicles, they used to sell those momo stalls, right? Small momo stalls, temporary momo stalls. They used to charge 30 rupees or 40 rupees, right? So how you differentiate, right? Obviously the taste and all those things. One of the differentiator will be price, right? Most of the times price becomes a surrogate to quality, right? Because we are paying money for a certain item, we think that that item is lot better or lot like kind of healthier, lot depending upon the service we are buying. Most of the times it happens in products also. Like I don't know whether in this class or in some other class I used to give that example. Most of the mobile, whatever you see, whichever company you think of, right? They get most of the times it is in the same assembly line, same plant, different assembly lines, right? Most of the raw materials or the components used are same, but still we have a perception, okay, because I'm paying 30,000, 50,000 for a mobile, this mobile is better than other mobile. That perception comes into branding, right? Because people pay money for that, people think that this will be much more better quality. Obviously there will be certain patent associated with certain technology which competitors cannot replicate, but most of the times it happens so components will be remain same, right? But still people pay more. There will be local shops for food, they might be more hygienic, preparing food with much more quality, but still people go to a bigger restaurant, right? So that is that, in that case price becomes a surrogate for quality, right? That means if a customer is paying more, they believe that they are getting a very good quality product or a service, right? Think about the barber shop. Like I said, the price can range from 50 to 2,000. Some people will be always willing to pay 2,000 or 1,000 more. Yes, because the treatment will be better. You might get a better uh, quality service. But one of the key aspect is because I'm paying 1,000 or 1,500, I'm getting a better haircut, right? That is about the perception. Quality. So that's why quality perceptions are much more important than the actual quality, right? Because think about service. Think services are most of the times intangible. How I define quality for a product, I can taste product. If I take a mobile phone or a, let's say I buy a bike, right? No maintenance, right? Or every 1 year, few maintenance, every 2 year, few maintenances are required. So that will define the quality. Nokia phone, what kind of, there was many memes around it, thinking it is unbreakable phone, right? That was the quality version of it. That was a product and it was visible, right? But when I say I go to a restaurant, quality of food, right? Because that is very subjective to me. What is quality of food to me? It will be very different to someone else who is very, every time, let's say out of 20, 25 of you, some of you will be very health conscious. Some of you might be eating many, like most of the times fast food, right? So for each of us, quality is subjective, right? So that is where the perception comes. And second is how we get treated. Some of us do not mind, like, okay, we go and wherever we can eat our food, that is okay. Some of us, if we go there, if the waiters treat us well, that is much more important than how the food tastes, right? Because we like those conversations, we like the ambience, right? So that is again subjective to each customer, right? So that is why defining quality in services is very difficult. In product, you can put certain parameters for each component. What is the warranty guarantee, right? And that will define some part of your quality, right? But in services it becomes more difficult because employees are involved, processes are involved, customers sometimes will go and like, let's say MACD and a KFC, right? So how much time they are waiting in the QA line or like waiting line, right? That defines the quality, right? Not only the food, not only the taste of the food, right? Reputation, word of mouth, it matters a lot. Think about hospitals, right? Think about doctors. Most of the times we ask our friends, relatives, okay, this is the like kind of problem I have, this is the health problem I have, whom should I go for, right? Some of the services, word of mouth matters a lot rather than branding, rather than how much money you are getting, uh, how much money you are paying for that service, right? Safety, customer well-being, in some cases that is one of the most important factor. Hospitals, your transportation, right? Obviously in airline, safety is a mandatory, like some of the processes need to be made, right? And that cannot be like done away with, so I cannot compromise with that. Same thing with the hospitals also, right? And that is one of the biggest issue where government hospitals lack, right? They are might be good doctors, right? But the surrounding environment, hygiene, cleanliness is not there, right? Most of the government hospitals, some of the government hospitals do have a very good kind of atmosphere, facility. So, and that is what the differences make. Then because due to safety differentiation, customers will always go for a more, like they will forced to pay more. Nobody likes to know whether it is poor guy, rich guy. No, nobody, none of us want to pay more. But still, people or customers are forced to pay more because the facilities available in government hospitals might not be safe, right? Speed, avoid excessive waiting, right? So that is somewhere like in some services, banking, like I said, your regular, let's say some information processing, transportation, right? People won't be like, there was a situation where people, like I said, 20 years or 30 years back, people were accustomed to wait in a waiting line, right? Maybe our parents' generation, right? But now nobody, if I go to a bank and I have to wait more than 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I'll close my account there. Most of the things can be done online. Why should I go and waste time there, right? Even the like some of the banks, if you like kind of recently I opened the account and it is online. I did not go to the bank, right? Everything is online. And most of the banks are trying to do that, right? Earlier, if you want to open an account, you have to go with a bunch of documents, identification. It will take at least 7 to 15 days, right? Gas connection, the whatever HPCL, Indian, or uh, Bharat Petroleum, whichever gas connection you have at your home. There was a time when people used to wait for month, 2 months, 3 months. There was a black market around it to get a gas connection. If you have a gas connection, that was a prestige, that was a esteem in the society. But right now, see the situation. Yes, sometimes there will be deviation, but within 7 days or 10 days, you will get a, once you apply with certain documents, you'll get the gas connection within few days. The situation have changed, But now the differentiation will happen. Think about the banking. If I want to, as a youngster, wants to join a company and you want to open an account, rather than taking a half day leave, going to a bank, opening an account, if that can be done online, we will be much more kind of, again, other factors will matter, right? But that will be again one of the important factors, whether I have to wait in a line to open an account rather than opening online, right? If I can get that kind of services, right? So like I said, these are the few factors on which customers think which competitors or which service provider they will go in, like kind of take this service, right? For each of the services, right? This weightage of these points or weightage of these factors will differ, right? Think about hospitals. There might be other factors might dwindle, but safety, or at least whatever you are getting out of that, your health issues need to be kind of taken care of, right? That will be one of the most important factors, right? Reliability, right? How reliable the doctor or the processes or the hospitals are, right? So, so again, like depending upon your airline, right? Again, for different customers, factors also will differ, right? For business customers, because the company is booking the ticket, right? They will not worry about the monetary factor. What they will worry about, whether there won't be any cancellation. But for an economic passenger, even if there is a like kind of a delay, obviously no cancellation, but even if there is a delay, but if I'm paying 1,000 rupees, 1,500 less, I might prefer a other airline, right? So customers also, for each of the customers also factors will also change, right? Any questions on this?
So,
Yeah.
so what is the meaning of your surrogate? Because there is another concept called surrogate marketing. So how it is different from quality surrogate?
Surrogate means it is a kind of what will say. A surrogate means one item is there. I'm taking a replication of that. That means instead of quality. So how somebody will know about the quality of a service, right? So in our mind, price plays a role of quality. That means if prices are more, our perceptions will be the quality also will be more or better. Think about the hotel services, right? If you go to Goa or if you go to any like kind of places like that, right? So there are like places where you can spend a night at 300, 200 rupees, cheap kind of places near the beaches, or there are 10,000, 7,000 rupees of Taj or the big, better, better or bigger hotels, right? So now why you are choosing that, right? Depending upon obviously how much money you can spend, what kind of services you want. But one of the biggest perception in our mind is if we pay more, obviously the services, we might never have gone to those kind of hotels. But depending upon the price, in our mind, the perception will come, quality also will be better, right? To fast food or the like kind of restaurant, right? Most of the times, if you go to a five-star restaurant or a like better restaurant, right? Three-star or a two-star restaurant, we think of price. If you are paying more 300, 200 rupees, quality will be better, right? So that is where price replaces quality. So that is the meaning of surrogate. Instead of quality, because quality sometimes it is very difficult to define, difficult to comprehend, right? So price plays the role of quality. So that is the meaning of surrogate. Something playing a role of another part.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So,
Yeah. Yes.
sir, after sales service can be a criteria for selecting a service provider.
Yes. Very much.
So, sir, then under which criteria that will come?
That can be again like depending upon, it cannot be under one. So let me see on which criteria it can come. Maybe convenience, because if that like let's say vehicle is there, right? Rather than I searching for the kind of any maintenance services required or any kind of repair or regular services are required, rather than the customer searching for the uh, whatever the service providers, right? If the company itself provide that after sales service, You don't worry. After recently, I bought this AquaGuard, right? Water purifier. So their service element is you need not have to search for the like every 3 months or 6 months. Who will give you a call? Who will come and replace the filter? And that was something like customer no need to remember. Array, I had changed the filter 6 months back. Now I have to change the filter. So that is the convenience they are providing to me. So they themselves will call, and that is their strategy, right? So you forget
sir.
about the services part, because most of the times water purifier, after certain like kind of usage of water or certain time to time, you have to change the filter, the filter or the filter. So now they are guaranteeing that okay, you need not have to worry about that every 6 months, and the first 2 or 3 changes will be free. After that, you have to pay whatever the like the market price. But we will make sure that we will call you, and that time we'll come and serve you, right? In that case, it becomes a convenience tool, right? Again, like I said, not all the factors will place will fall under all these categories. There will be other categories also, right?
Yes, sir.
Think about the number of options available. It is not here, I guess, right? Available to only the like kind of on the time frame. It is the example is given, right? Think about if I have Netflix, Prime Video, or let's say Disney or Disney Hotstar or some other thing, and I have only 200 or 300 rupees I can spend. Or let's say Tata Sky, DTH, and other services, right? I have a fixed amount. I know that I'll not spend much more than that. So now I have to think that number of options available, number of services I can get with those within those 300 or 250 rupees, right? So number of options availability, right? The kind of divergence we'll discuss next, right? So that will be one of the key factors, right? How many more services I can get. Any more questions on this? So whatever the categories we have discussed, right? Or the some of the categories which was not covered, right? Majorly will fall into 3 categories, right? Qualifiers, service winners, and losers, right? Qualifiers are something very basic, right? If it is not there, you will not able to compete in that market, right? Safety, because that is it's a safety. Think about the airlines, right? So your whatever the flights or the aircraft need to be maybe less than 5 year old or 7 years old, right? Regular maintenances. So that will define your safety factors, right? If that kind of safety you cannot guarantee, right? No matter how less your price. So if somebody says, I have a 80% safety rating, 8/10 or 80% safety rating, but my prices are very low, 50%. No customers will go there. If only you are guaranteeing 80% is like kind of success in transportation, none of the customers will go there, no matter how much you can like transport them free also, right? So in that case, that is the safety. Same thing in the hospitals also. What is the like success rate of certain kind of operations? Let's say heart disease or let's say eye operations, right? Prices might be very low, but if the success rate is also very low, none of the customers, none of the patients will go there, because that is where you will get compared with competitors. Somewhere if some hospital they are charging much more, but they guarantee a success rate of 99%, 100%, right? If you do not have also money, you will like kind of gather or you will take loan and go there rather than a 60% or 80% success rate, right? So in that case, that becomes a qualifier, right? So since again, depending upon the services, right? And it keeps changing. Qualifiers right now, if you think 10 years back or 20 years back, ATM machine was a service winner, because that is where most of the like kind of banks do not have ATM machines installed. One bank, ICICI or SBI, whoever launched the ATM machines first, that became the service winner, because now the customers realize, okay, I need not have to go and wait in a way. I need not have to go and wait in a waiting line, right? So that becomes the service winner. But now if you say I do not decide, because most of the banks have ATM machines. So I do not say that okay, this bank have only 2,000 ATMs across India and that bank has 3,000 ATMs, because I know that at least one or, and I can like go to any ATM and withdraw money, right? So I need not have to worry about that. So that factor, that category, which was a availability, right? So 15 years or 20 years back, that was a service winner. That means based upon that, you are differentiating your service and people used to come, people used to prefer your bank rather than your competitor's bank. But now that factor, that category of service has become a qualifier. If you do not, if you say that I do not have a ATM machine, people might not go. That is a minimum requirement is there. Safety. There will be always in kind of hospitals or the your airlines. Minimum safety requirement is there. If you do not meet that, no, none of the customers, no matter how cheap your or how less costly your services are, no, none of the customers will come to you, right? So in that case, that becomes a qualifier, right? Winner means some factors category based upon which you win the market, right? You differentiate yourself with competitors in such a way that customers choose your service over the competitor's service, right? That becomes your service winners. Service losers are somewhere if you do a mistake in that, right? That component or that category, right? You lose that customer, right? Who think about in this way? Your name, your price may be low. You are a very good waiter. Your waiters are very polite. Everything is in place. Processes are good. No waiting time. But you went to a food and there was a food poisoning, right? For a particular day, right? Your food quality might be excellent over the days, right? But that particular day there was a food poisoning for certain customers, right? Then it is gone, right? And most of the time, so was that a question? How Domino's is managing its 30-minute delivery comes? Is there any change that might be suppressing to decrease in their product quality? So most of the times, so there is a question, right? Obviously, this is we'll discuss on the process part later on, right? How to design your processes, right? When you get into the service processes, after like it will happen around 9th or 10th session. But yeah, because there was a question just to answer, like most of the times, whichever like Domino's, like say I'll take this example right now. Domino's 30 minutes delivery, right? That used to be a service winner not few months back, few years back, right? Late night you want pizza, you know that other you will not travel to other shops and it will take a lot of time. So now Domino's guaranteed that 30 minutes delivery, right? So that was a service winner. Now if you find many shops are there, even they are not guaranteeing, you can order through Zomato, Swiggy, right? So that as the change has happened, right? So if you are ordering in Zomato and Swiggy or any other kind of application, right? First you'll think that how much time it will take me to deliver the food. You'll not wait for 1 hour or 2 hours, right? Now the question is how they're managing it, right? How do like these kind of service providers, let's say Indigo, how do they claim that okay there won't be no cancellation, there won't be no delay? For Domino's, how do they manage the 30 minutes delivery, right? Lot of things to happen in kind of processes which happen in the background when you discuss service blueprinting, right? So think about services in a kind of a stage theater, right? So if you go to a theater like for a live play, right? Audience is there, which are like customers, right? And stage, the employees or the waiters or the servers are serving us, right? And in the background, something else is happening, right? So there are background processes. Then in the foreground, something is happening, and then the audience or the customers are there. Think about a restaurant. Think about Domino's, right? Whenever you order a food, order goes to their system and the preparation starts. But what happens in the background? Background, they will have their patties, they will have the vegetables, they will have whatever the raw ingredients required for any preparation already made available and in the proper place. So they know that and they define the time and they repeat the process in such a way that 6 months, 1 year down the line, they know that if this order comes, this kind of topping, this kind of requirement, they will be able to make the pizza within 5 minutes, right? And the delivery guy knows the route. They will be trained how to go, like UPS and what is that? United Postal Service, and that is, I think, FedEx, right? Uh, and there was a very good case study on that. So UPS delivery guy, like basically think about India Post, right? Which is right now nobody, most of the times we do not take their services, right? But in USA, UPS is a, still they are a big name, and most of the people rely on them, right? So they, I'll see that if I have that video with me, and I'll share with you later. So how do they define, like, because see, a postman or whoever the delivery guy, in a particular day, they have to deliver so many packages, right? So every step is written down. Every step means, think about in this way: how to, like, how much, like if they're driving the, like, vehicle to deliver the parcels, right? How, like, they'll keep on neutral, how many steps to, kind of how much time they open the door, uh, come down, take the parcel, right? Go to the, like, kind of door of the customer. If the customer is not there, how much time they will wait, whether it is 2 rings or 3 rings, where to keep the parcel, right? Then how much time they'll take to come to their vehicle and again start the engine and go, right? So think about in this way, every detail, it is like a script. So that's why it took the name of theater, right? So the employee is playing that script, and once you repeat time and again, it becomes a habit, right? So they have defined, UPS have defined for this kind of delivery how much time, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 30 seconds, and they make sure that the delivery guy is meeting the. So when I say 3 minutes 30 seconds, the vehicle comes to the doorstep, the guy like the switches of the engine, goes to the back side of the car or back side of the delivery van, takes the parcel, goes to the customer's door, uh, keeps the parcel, comes back, starts the engine and goes out, right? And whatever the processes in between, delivered updates in the system, right? So everything is kind of a script. How much time, how much steps you will take, right? If it is a traffic, right? The traffic cross in certain days, right? What kind of alternate routes you have? If there is a vehicle kind of vehicle breaks down in the way, what alternatives do you have, right? Everything is written down in that manual, right? And they follow that process. So same thing with the Domino's also. How much time, if your vehicle breaks down, or let's say the customer is not picking the phone, you are not able to find the address of the customer, how will you make sure that within time? Obviously there are certain clauses and all those things, but everything in place, how will you make sure that you are meeting the delivery of 30 minutes, right? That is where you, that script, that theater, think about those employees, those service delivery guys playing a role of a actor or actresses, right? And they have to follow this script. A good service designer or a good service manager will be defined how well you have put that script on. I think most of you know that the call center guys, they have that script. If a customer says this line, what will you say them? Think about the number of calls you get from banks, credit card companies, insurances, right? You will given a manual, right? Every time a customer says something, what kind of answer you are going to give? That itself is a script. Same thing applies for Domino. Same thing applies for UPS. How will you make sure that you are making that, fulfilling that promises, right? So out of that, certain things are there which, if you are not able to meet, that will become your service loser, right? Again, for different
Sir,
services, yeah.
sir,
Yes.
Telenor could be example for service loser.
Telenor, on what sense?
Sir, Telenor, those like Jio and Airtel,
Yeah,
telecom services.
but on what basis they lost the market?
So they couldn't provide the better facilities what during that time Reliance and Airtel were doing.
Yes, so that category will become a service loser, not the company will become a service loser, right? So what we are qualifiers is that category. Let's say you gave a good example. Let's say right now Geo Airtel and Vodafone is there, right? Obviously, Vodafone is losing the market. Jio right now it has started to gain. In certain months, they are gaining customers. But think about in this way: 5 years or 3 years back, there used to be 10 telecom players or 8 telecom players. Right now, forget about BSNL because that is a government entity that will be always there. But right now, only 3 major players. Right? On what basis right now we will choose a kind of a telecom company, right? There will be certain category, price, other thing that, but there is call always drops. You will not able to connect, right? Because till now, no matter how much facility, internet, additional services, whatever services they provide, till one of the major requirement is your call drop should not happen. If calls are dropping, calls are not connecting, that becomes a service loser, right? If you are not able to maintain that call quality, right? Or there is always noises, background noises, disturbances are there, right? Somebody like, let's say, Jio or Airtel, whoever comes with the 5G technology first and provides that with a reasonable price, that will become your service winner, because most of the youngsters like you will move into whoever gives provides the 5G first, right? Because right now changing due to number portability, it is easy, right? Earlier that used to be a very big headache, right? Even now also, if you have a BSNL, you have to go to office, so it is a long process, right? So yeah, right now if somebody comes, whichever, like all the 3 players are right now have invested a lot in 5G. So whoever is able to provide fast and with a reasonable price, that for certain point of time. After a certain point of time, 5G will become a qualifier, because all the 3 are providing 5G services, like it happened for 4G. So in India, that is something which happened, right? So generally people move from 2G, 3G, 4G, right? So our most of the India happened like that. 2G, 3G is very for short time, then 4G, right? And right now we are thinking of 5G. So right now a customer comes or a company comes, whichever company provides the 5G service, that category will become service winner for next 1 year or 2 year, because obviously the other 2 companies also will provide 3 months or 6 months down the line, right? So once all the 3 companies provide, right, that becomes a service qualifier. So if a new entrant is trying to come and they do not have a 5G network or 5G kind of availability, they cannot enter the market, right? Because that category providing 5G service becomes a qualifier now, right? Like the ATM machines or the online payment system. 10 years, 15 years back, some few banks, private banks like ICICI, Axis started with those internet banking, because people were still afraid to do certain transactions on internet. Trust face-to-face interaction with the bankers, because it is cash, it is money involved, right? In like our parents' generations, who won't be still compatible, most of, like at least my parents still are not compatible with those banking transactions over internet, right? Maybe your grandparents who won't be compatible with internet banking, right? But now it has become a qualifier. A bank cannot come and say that, okay, I'll only do the uh, there is no internet banking for me, right? So that is what I was talking about. Some categories which was, or some service concept which was a service winners, will get into service qualifiers later on, right? And service losers are something which you cannot do away with. If something happens there, right? Reliability in airlines, reliability in hospital services, or call drops, if happens regularly in your telecom services. You might provide much more internet. You might provide like kind of discount. You might provide a lot of coupons. But if call drops are there, people will not take your service, right? So that becomes a service loser. Any doubt on this? So next to, again, I'll not spend much time, because I hope you already know this, right? If not, make sure that you know this, because most of the times, this, no matter whichever kind of specialization you have, whichever interview you are doing, right? SWOT analysis and Porter's five forces. These are irrespective of your specialization, irrespective of company, because these are the two things people remember. If somebody is from MBA background, right? So think about the interviewer, right? So they are not reading and they are coming to your interview to ask you questions, right? So they will ask something which they remember, right? And most of the time, these are the two things which kind of a what will say like becomes a qualifier in a sense for MBA, right? If you think somebody has done his MBA, right? So at least he or she should know few frameworks, right? Porter's five courses is one of the framework. I hope this you know, right? Anyone having any doubt on Porter's five courses? I think this must have been covered in your first year and in your strategy classes. Michael P. Porter's five courses. There are again some other important framework you should remember. ANSWER's matrix is one such framework. Kano's model is one framework, right? See, the idea is why this framework is required. It is not that if I do not know this, I cannot enter a market, right? So it helps you to structure your answers, right? Think about the interview question. Somebody says, okay, you are, let's say insurance companies, right? So many insurance companies are there. Think about if you join as our marketing manager or a sales manager, what are the things you'll do to enter a market, right? So you can say many answers, right? This technology I'll provide, that technology I'll provide, this kind of service I'll provide. But what makes your answer better, or why somebody will choose you, right? If you answer using certain frameworks, right? So obviously you will not say that, okay, I'm going to use Porter's framework and all those things, but how you structure your answer, right? So first I will analyze who are our competitors in the market, right? So you start with competitive rivalry within an industry, right? What they are providing, right? Number of competitors, what is that revenue growth, industry capacity, right? If the industry itself is saturated, right? Can you think of something else? There are already 100 players in the same health insurance or the general insurance. Think about right now what you can provide. Most of the insurance companies moved into a COVID insurance, right? One company moved, then others moved, right? So that is where we discuss, right? Services are not patentable. So somebody cannot say that, okay, I'm providing COVID insurance, nobody else can provide, right? So this is where you have to think of, right? Who are your competitors? What is the rivalry? Is there a clear differentiation, right? Somebody is a market leader and think about your OTT services, right? Already Netflix, Prime Video, Disney, and many more channels are there, right? And each of them will have their own market segment. If you a company trying to enter Indian market, first you have to realize what is the competitive rivalry in that industry, right? Then potential new entrants, right? How easy for a new service like an entrepreneur like you to enter that market, right? What are the barriers to entry? Think about in this way. If it is a airline industry like right now, Rakesh Junjul, all of that stock broker, right? They are entering the
Government policies could be a barrier to new entries.
right. So you need certain licenses, certain safety guidelines to be met, right? If you want to open a bank, you need those SEBI guidelines to. You need certain kind of rules to follow, right? How easy it is to enter market. It's not that everybody can open a private bank, right? Or everybody can start with the insurance. IRDA guidelines need to be followed, right? Similarly, for your airlines, safety guidelines, what about the Airline Authority of India? They are provided, ministry guidelines need to be followed, right? And once you get a license, then, so is there any license? But if you want to open a small restaurant, yes, you need a municipality kind of certificate and you need a GST. And so those will be there, but it will be less easier, right? Auto repair shop, right? Or a, let's say, small service of like whatever services you can think of, right? Hotels, restaurants, delivery services. So some services you need not have to have licenses, right? Some services licenses are mandatory, right? Capital investment, hospitals, hotels, huge capital investment. Some services can be done with a rental spaces, right? You need not have to own this space, or without spaces also. Online delivery system, Amazon, Netflix, and all those things. You need not have to have an office also, right? So those are the things will define your potential new entrants, and for them, what are the challenges or what are the opportunities, right? Bargaining power of suppliers, right? So this is somewhere we discussed earlier also, right? If you are a bigger brand name, right? Think about hotels, ITC, Taj, right? So they have a very good bargaining power with the raw material. So who are the raw material suppliers? The raw material suppliers will be food, like clothing, bed sheets, and all those things, or the like cleaning items. So whatever is provided to that hotels, right? Raw material for food, your clothing, all the like kind of items which is required to run a hotel, right? If you are a small hotel, you much won't have a much bargaining power with your supplier. If you're a bigger hotel, so we are thinking of the raw material supplier, how much bargaining power they have, right? If they have a higher bargaining power, then it will be very difficult to kind of control the market, right? If most of the like kind of players think about this way, like Netflix, Prime Video, right now obviously they are like kind of producing or directing or kind of managing their own content, right? But when they started, most of the time they have to take the license from the whichever the producers, right? Movie producers or the series producers, right? If they have their own conditions, right? Let's say before Disney started, if you want to like kind of show anything on Netflix or Prime Video, any Disney movies or Disney series, right? So they have the Disney will have a much more bargaining power. So they will charge, okay, if you are showing this series or this movie for 1 month, pay me this money. Because Netflix now they have their own content. 10 years back or 5 years back when they launched that service, they did not have to have their own content. They used to license everything from other producers, and they used to show that in their platform, right? So there, that time what used to happen, the supplier is those producers have much more bargaining power. Now Netflix or the Prime Videos, Amazon, they have started creating their own content, right? So bargaining powers is slightly changing, right? Still much of the old movies or the famous movies or the like much popular movies which are from different producers, right? Still Netflix have to pay or Prime Video have to pay their licensing fee to show in their own platform, right? So that is where the bargaining power of suppliers comes into picture, right?
So we can say if there are less number of suppliers, then there will their bargaining power will be much more.
Not necessarily, it depends upon what they're supplying, right? So right now in this situation in the Netflix and all those things, right? They're supplying the content, right? Whatever series or movies you watch, there might be thousands suppliers, thousand producers, right? Out of that, there will be only few or popular movies which customers will like to see, right? If you are not showing that movie series in your TV platform, customers will obviously switch to that, right? So that was one of the challenge when Disney launched. Disney like kind of eat away Netflix markets are like anything, because the Marvel and all those whatever the superhero movies, Disney has a kind of a monopoly, right? And most of the youngsters will prefer to watch those. And if Netflix and Prime Video won't get that license, so people will obviously move. So that's why Netflix started their own superhero series, and even the Prime Video have started that similar kind of superhero series, right? So that is where the
So
supplier, yeah.
it's also cricket. So if we take the examples of cricket, then only Hotstar and Prime, that Hotstar shows the cricket matches and all.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the supplier who has the power. Now the BCCI, if it is a Indian kind of India is playing a game, right? BCCI has a supplier because that content ownership is with
Yes.
BCCI, right? So they
Yes.
have much more power, right? So when like let's say Hotstar is trying to take the license of showing that, right? So the much more power, because if they do not do, it will go to whatever the other channels they have, right? So you have to think of in that way.
Yes,
So
I
when you
got
talk
it.
about bargaining power of suppliers, who is supplying that content, right? In this case, BCCI. In the movies case, producers, right?
Yes, sir.
Bargaining power of customers. That is where we, you and me think of in this way. How many options I have, right? How much money I can pay to watch your, let's say Netflix. I have many options, right? What I want, what I need, and how much I can pay, right? That is the difference between um, need, want, and demand, right? If I can pay, then that becomes a demand for it, right? That is where the information asymmetry, how much information I have available. Information asymmetry means how much information I have available with me, right? With the customer, right? Right now, due to internet, that information asymmetry is decreasing a lot, right? So think about in this way. 10 years, 15 years back, internet was slow. Nobody was able to compare that, right? So information was very less, right? So I'll always go to the local, like cable network to use, right? Or anything, word of mouth used to play a big role, right? Internet came and it leveled the field, right? Now I can take I can take services. Think about these classrooms also, right? Your knowledge or your like kind of experience of like education is not only limited to a single school or college, right? 10 years back it was there, 15 years back it was there, because education was not available that much over internet, right? Books were available, content was available, but somebody lecture explaining things, right, was not available. Right now, see, sitting from a remote village also, if you have a good internet connection, you can like watch MIT or Harvard's videos, same kind of facilities, right? Obviously there will be little difference between online content and offline content, the class experience, but still like at least you'll get those experiences, right? So now you can think of, right, whether I'll pay the 3,000 rupees to go for a offline class, or I can take that online class free, right? I can watch those videos on YouTube or edX or other platforms which are available, right? So that is where the bargaining power of customers will play a role. Threat of substitutes, right? So this is somewhere like kind of a think about substitute in this way. It is not always your competitor is a substitute, right? Uh, there was a good article, like when I was doing my MBA, there was an article from one IIM Bangalore professor, and he defined like he gave very good examples. That time, uh, think about these color tunes. Right now, I'm not sure whether the people are paying money for that color tunes or not, right? So he like in that article he started with a question, right? Back in I think 2011 or 2011 or 12, right? They told which is the biggest music kind of company in India, right? So he gave certain names: T Series, Sony, India, and all those things, right? So obviously, when you think of, you'll think about T Series and all those things, right? Movie like kind of are not music companies, right? But then the answer he told it is Airtel, because that time Airtel, Jio was not there. Airtel was one of the biggest players, and I think they started to. So they had started long back the caller tunes, right? And for that 30 seconds, they're charging 15 rupees or 20 rupees, right? And with that, they are earning that much revenue, right? So that music business, that color tune business, was much more profitable or much more revenue earning than whole of T Series, whole of Sony India. So your competition is most of the times not in that sense, right? Think about, and then the next question was, which is the biggest camera like kind of company, DSLR company in world or in India? Canon, Sony, and all those things. But the answer was Nokia, because the amount of, because that time Nokia was still a big player, right? The amount of money they are earning from camera phones, right, was much more than the DSLR companies, right? So the thing is that because that time the main challenge competitor for the DSLR companies was not, and now also the situation is like that. You have cameras which is obviously DSLR will be always DSLR, right? But at least to the you get a much more better quality picture that you used to get 10 years back, right? 10 years back, if you think of a better quality picture means DSLR. Now, if you have a bigger like kind of better brand mobile phone, right, you'll get at least Obviously, there will be always certain difference. So photographers, actual photographers will always go for a DSLR, but still you will get a reasonable good picture with a mobile phone. You need not have to own a DSLR if you are amateur or you are just a novice, right? So which is substituting DSLR? Earlier, 20 years back, somebody think about taking a picture. They want to have a camera separate. Phone was different. Mobile phone was only for calls. Your camera was different, right? Now think about mobile phone. Everything can be done. It is not only for calls. Mobile, one of the biggest kind of selling point of mobile phones is the camera, right? That is how your playing field has changed. So threat of substitute. So your threat of substitutes is a very big threat for your services or products, right? Banking services, right? Most of the time, people Visa, Mastercard think of whenever transaction used to happen, credit card, debit card, right? 10 years down the line, maybe. Again, I'm not.
Sir, online payment options can be included. The online
Yes,
payment
so
of like
UPI,
Paytm and PhonePe.
ATM, Google Pay, right? So they right now is a big threat to the online trap because banks get certain kind of transaction fee over those used to get, right? Now it can be done with UPI, right? So that is a big threat of substitute, right? All the like shops which used to provide all the like kind of small shops, right? Amazon, Flipkart became a big threat for them, right? Internet become a big threat for them, right? For the offline services. Right? Still, there will be obviously you cannot do everything over a kind of uh, phone or over a video platform over online. There will be always need of certain interaction, right? But think about any services you are wanting to get into whenever you present your topic, right? Think about who can substitute the services you are talking about. What kind of services can replace you, right? So these are the 5 factors, Porter's 5 forces which affect the industry. So this is a industry specific analysis, right? So you are not looking into a specific company. You are an outsider thinking about the industry. So that's why it is always about a industry's 5 forces before entering a industry as a company if you're thinking of, right? So this point you always remember. So this is a industry specific analysis, right? Not a company specific. I am thinking of whole industry, right? When I think about banking, I'm not only thinking of I'll do a Porter's 5 forces for SPI. I'll do a Porter's 5 forces of banking sector, insurance sector, airline sector, hospitality sector, right? So Porter's 5 forces is always about the industry specific analysis. SWOT analysis is always a company specific analysis. I'm not going to do a people do, but it is wrong because SWOT analysis need to be very specific for a company. So SWOT analysis sometimes people do that mistake do for industry. So SWOT analysis is very company specific. What is your strength? Similarly, if I say individual, also sometimes the interview question is that carry out a SWOT analysis of yourself. So everybody can clearly talk about strength and weakness. Opportunity and threat, you will fumble, right? So if I ask you now as an interview question, carry out a SWOT analysis of yourself. So you have like habituated to answer, okay, I'll remember these 2 strengths, 2 weaknesses, I'll answer. Then what is opportunity? You will not know. Threat, you will not know. So if I ask you this question, as an individual, anybody can answer what is the opportunity, what is a threat for you?
So opportunities can be the other companies visiting our campus, and threat can be like my friends who are good in aptitudes and all. They can be the threat.
Okay. Any other answer?
So opportunities can be college providing us the facilities,
Okay.
like different companies.
Okay. Threats.
So threats can be in this during this COVID, technology can be like technology glitch can be a
Okay.
threat.
Correct
Not tech.
example, sir.
Yeah.
In a threat part, sir, we can take an example of competitors, sir, like Zoom with a Google Meet, with a Microsoft Team Edge.
But how does
They
it
are
a
the
threat for
competitor
you?
of Zoom.
How does it a threat for you as an individual, as an MBA graduate? Why Zoom will be a threat for you or Microsoft Team will be a threat for you? I'm asking about an individual, not as a company, right?
Okay, sir, I thought about that. Okay, sir.
So because that is always an interview question. Not always. Sometimes they just ask about strength and weaknesses, which is a standard question. Sometimes they ask about opportunity, and you again, it is individual. You have to ask yourself, what is the opportunity for you? Don't generalize. So similarly with strength and weaknesses, because we have been taught, okay, there are certain strengths you remember and answer, but be very specific. Why do you think that is strength for you? Give an example. Weakness. So if I say that, okay, I cannot manage my time is my weakness, because if you read those interview answers in internet, because that is a safe answer. Time management, multitasking, those are the safe weakness answers. But what I have been doing to solve that problem, I cannot just say that is my weakness and that's it. So you have to give that example. So that I felt, okay, that was one of the disadvantages, or that is one of the biggest weakness which I can think of. And for the last 3 years or 2 years or last 1 year, I have been doing that. How to like kind of improve upon, how to do away with that weakness. Similarly, strength, you have to give one or two. It is not that you will tell a story, right? Link your strength with a situation, or why do you think that is a strength for you, right? Similarly, opportunity. Yes, whatever answers you gave are correct, apart from like Zoom one, but you have to give that opportunity also. Why do you think that is opportunity? So you have to be very specific. Okay, and how to impress in an interview, right? See, you are the biggest opportunity for me, right? If I was not in dance campus, so this kind of company or this kind of opportunity which you are providing, right? So it is kind of a dream opportunity for me, right? I always wanted to, whether you wanted to work or not, you can frame your answers in such a way that, so you tell that you make feel that interviewer, because that is always about person, right? To make sure that you are making that interviewer feeling good about themselves and their company, right? So you are the biggest opportunity for me, and right now sitting in front of you, I think my career uh, like moving along with your company's growth is the biggest opportunity for me. So always remember, your end objective is to, and wherever you like kind of land up, that is again a different thing. Lot many other factors are there, but your main objective is to get that job at that point of time, right? So that is your impress. How to impress that person? Opportunity. And then very specific. Why? Then the next question will be, why do you think? Why will you hire you? Yes, it is the biggest opportunity you tell. Then you have to link up with your strength. Why that company? What kind of opportunity? Why do you think that you will be the best person to leverage that opportunity? Threat, yes, threat can be from. So never say that you're. So in that case, yes, it is true, right? The persons right now, if there are companies which will come for operations placement, these 25 of you are your competitors, right? But think in this way, threat in this way, which will be again like linked to where you are working, like so yes, I was little bit of kind of nervous about appearing in those campus placements, because these are the skill sets required which I did not have, right? Weakness is something which I had and I'm trying to improve. Threat is something which I do not have, right? Which is outside, right? People need this kind of skill set, or let's say advanced Excel and all those, depending upon the company you are trying to do, right? So I have been trying to do those additional courses apart from our college courses, right? I'm trying to do those certifications courses to update myself, keep me updated to. Threat means something challenging, something which is from the outside, which I have not anticipated, or which I have anticipated and trying to prepare for it, right? So that becomes a threat for you, right? So again, like when you are doing those analysis for a company or a topic which you have chosen for your presentation, do a SWOT analysis, right? What is the strength of that company, weaknesses, opportunities for that company, threat, right? People do that mistake. SWOT analysis is always about a company, or if sometimes it is about a person. What are 5 forces is about the industry, right? Any questions on this? Let me see. If a company is the category winner by providing excellent service in their initial growth stage and eventually they locked as a monopoly and then charges anonymously, is it good? Is there any regulations announced by government which create a healthy competition in market? Depends upon like, so there is always a question, right? Once you get into a monopoly, right, you can charge anything, right? Right now, the challenge with, or like most of the people are thinking this way. Most of the services, if you think in India right now in a duopoly stage, Amazon, Flipkart, obviously there will be other players. Airlines, Indigo is a major player and balance is by maybe Vistara and all those, Air India, right? Jio, Airtel, again, that is becoming a duopoly. So now the challenge is if somebody becomes a monopoly, like they are the only player in the market, right? And they can charge anything, right? Yes, government has regulations to avoid that, so there has to be a fair play. But again, government cannot say that, okay, you are the only player, so that's why I'll include another player. If that competitor or that market player or that company got into that kind of market share, 80%, 90%, with the honest or a fair way, right? Without doing unjust things, without doing illegal things, right? Yes, in that scenario, they can be monopoly, they can like charge anything, right? Sometimes monopoly is by the government itself, right? Before that, and that was the license Raj, right? India Post used to be monopoly. BSNL used to be, so there used to be that Videsh Sanchar Nigam Limited, right, for outside calls. Before this, Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited, BSNL and BSNL, they used to be
So
monopoly.
railways.
Which one?
So railways.
Railways, right? Right now, people like railways, some of the there will be certain private rails, right? But railways still is the monopoly, right? Any kind of thing which you want to transfer for a longer distance, where truck and other transportations are not available, only option available is railways, right? That is a monopoly. Yes, monopoly can happen, right? If that service is so good that all the customers want that kind of service, and that is, yes, obviously that is a big challenge. If only one player is there, later on they can charge anything, right? And now the biggest concern regarding Geo is that the way they are like taking up the market, right? It should not happen that they are the only player, the remaining, right? Okay, just quickly for your today's class exercise, I'll take another 8 to 10 minutes just to show you something so that you can complete the class exercise. But again, we'll discuss in detail in next class. Okay, so this, don't worry, I'll discuss in next class because this is not related to your class exercise today, right? So this slide, the first slide I'm skipping, I'll directly move into next 2 slides. So next 8 minutes, we'll discuss these 2 slides. So first part, obviously the service development part, there are 4 stages, which we'll discuss in the next class. So what we are going to discuss, at least in these 2 slides, are basically service design elements, right? If you want to develop or design a new service, right, what are the things you should keep in mind, right? There are 2 parts to it, structural elements and managerial elements, right? Structural, think of in this way, structural, once you have defined it, right? Once you have decided on it, it is very difficult to change, right? Managerial is day-to-day decision what you take, right? You can change it, right? You can optimize it, you can change it later on, right? You can add new processes, right? Obviously, there will be certain cost associated with it. But structural is in the beginning when you are developing your services, right? Coming up your new ideas. Once you invest in that, right? It is very difficult to change. When it's a difficult, capital investment will be required, right? Structural element have core components: delivery system, right? Delivery system, think about your processes, your system. Think about a bank, think about a airport, right? How your employees will be trained, right? Who will work in the background? How many ground crews will be there? How many front cabin crews will be there, right? Everything need to be decided, right? How much time a customer, like Domino's, think about Domino's. There is a question that how will they define that within 30 minutes they are able to deliver whatever food items they have, right? So that is your service delivery system, like we discussed in our last class, right? Once you have an operating strategy, how your service delivery system is uh, defined or designed, right? Service blueprint, we'll discuss. Service blueprint is a separate topic itself. Like I said, service blueprint is that theater system, right? In the foreground, some services are happening. You go to a hotel, your food is prepared. Food is being prepared in the background, right? Most of the times we do not know how they are preparing the food, right? Then the waiter brings the food which is in the foreground, and you are the audience or you are the actor, right? You are eating the food, right? So the interaction, how it happens between you and the waiter, or the like in the billing counter with that billing personnel, right? Or sometimes with the manager also, right? So that is the foreground. In the background, something else might be happening. Food is being prepared, raw material being ordered, right? So all these things, how they are designed, that is your delivery system, right? Think about it, hairdresser, right? So in some hairdressing, like the salons, right? So once the hair wash is complete, there is a separate location where like kind of customers can go and like be in that, put that on their head, and the hair will be dried, right? So they don't need a employee, they don't need a hairdresser to accompany them, right? So that delivery system has been designed in such a way that, right? Here for banks, right? I'll do that. There will be no customers. Customers need not have to come to my office, right? To open an account, right? So they can open an account through internet. That is my delivery system. So I have to have that internet. What are the requirement document processing system in place? Because if a customer is not coming, I'm not know or see him physically. How am I going to open an account? What are the legal procedures involved? What are the documents I need? How those documents will be verified? So that will become your delivery system. That will become your part of delivery system. Facility design in some cases, right? Hospitals, hotels, banks, some services which need big kind of investment capital, like structural investment, right? So that is how you define, right? Hotels, how will you design, right? Educational institutes, right? How will you design, right? How the auditoriums, how the classrooms will be designed, right? So that will happen on facility design. Locations for some services, hospitals, right? It is always better to be closer to the road, right? If there is certain emergency, if they're trying to travel 10 or 15 years. So that's why the primary healthcare system originated, right? Urban healthcare system, urban primary healthcare system, rural primary healthcare system, right? Because some emergency happened, people used to travel 30 kilometers or 35 kilometers to the city, right? By the time the accident, like survivor reaches here, he'll die within half an hour or 1 hour, right? Because the delay happens due to travel and all those things. Can I provide a primary health service near to the like villages and the places, right? So that is where location part. Then the capacity planning. Think about a bank, think about a hospital, right? So when you are opening up a hospital or a bank, right? So you should know that how many customers you can handle in a day, how many patients you can handle. So that is why the hospitals have that 200 bed facility, 500 bed facility, 10 ICU beds, these kind of facility, right? So because that later on changing is very difficult. So you have to build another one building, which is again a bigger investment. You cannot change the structure as such, right? So from the beginning, you have to make sure that, okay, this is my, again, you have to think of future demand also. So it is not that, okay, this for the first year, I'm designing something and that is done. So you have to think of future also, right? So the case study what I've given, that is for the ambulance services. So you have to find out what are the delivery system, what is the facility design, which are the locations they are serving, right? And how do they define that? Capacity planning. how they define that how many ambulances they have to keep, right? Because in that case, it is ambulances, right? It is not a physical location. So when they think of, okay, capacity planning, how many patients they'll serve, accordingly, how many ambulances they have to have, right? That becomes the capacity plan, right? Then managerial element, that is day to day, what are the decisions you have to take to serve your customers? What kind of information you require? Depending upon the legal structure, depending upon, let's say, hospital, health records is mandatory. Without health records, doctors cannot check, doctors cannot diagnose a patient, right? So that information, what kind of information, what kind of blood test required, that needs to be defined in the beginning, right? Your banking, PAN card is a must. Without PAN card, you cannot open an account. Aadhaar right now is for identification and address proof. Before that, there used to be ration card, voter ID, passport, right? So those need to be defined. What kind of information you are keeping, right? So that is a decision you have to take, and every time it needs to get updated, right? Every 3 months, 6 months. So if you have an address change, how often that should get reflected in your account, right? Quality, how you are measuring the quality of your services, right? So there is a separate chapter on service quality. There are 22 questions. There is a questionnaire, 22 questions related to different dimensions of service quality. We'll discuss that. So, but in this case, how do they measure quality? So think about for ambulance services, what will be quality? How quickly they reach the patient and how quickly they take it to the hospital, right? So how do they define that? What kind of matrices, right? Read about that article and find out. Service encounter. Encounter is encounter triad means, again, we'll discuss that. Employee, your customers, then technology, right? So these are the three. So basically employees or your front persons, right? What kind of technology you have and what kind of customers you have. So this is the encounter, three parts of that triangle: employees, technology, and customers, right? What kind of technology you have providing? Who are your customers? Ambulance services, obviously the patients or the emergency patients, right? And who are your employees? Those people, the drivers or the attendants who are going, right? How do they interact with each other, right? Managing capacity and demand. See, capacity was in the structural element also, but that is once you define, okay, I have a hospital of 200 beds, or I have this many departments. Within 1 year, I cannot change. Within 6 months, I cannot change. At least that should hold good for 5 years. Obviously, 10 years down the line, I have to build a new building or some other facilities, right? So that won't work for 30 years. But it is not that every 6 months I'm changing. But here, when I talk about managing capacity and demand, it is a day-to-day decision. Today, or the like rainy season is coming, or the flu season is coming, the fever for COVID happened, right? So that decision has to be made. So I cannot build a new building suddenly, right? Some area, some part of the location, I have to isolate it, put a separate provision for that, right? I have to have a testing area separately, right? How to manage? So that is the day-to-day or short-term temporary decisions you have to take very often to manage the capacity and demand, right? So it is not that you are every 6 months you are building new facility or new designing a new building. So that is a long-term decision which is taken care in structural element. In managerial elements, you are changing. So now I have let's say 200 or 100 ambulances. Where will I deploy those ambulances? That will be my managerial decision. Buying new ambulances, buying new facilities, that will be a structural element. How to deploy those elements, how to deploy those ambulances. Think about Zomato, think about Swiggy. I have these many delivery boys. How to deploy them? Adding another 2000 delivery boys will be a structural element. But deploying day to day, where to deploy them, near which locations? Because wherever the demand more, I should deploy those. 2 years back, near Heat, if you go, 200 or 100 delivery boys will be roaming around Zomato, Swiggy, because much of the orders were from the hostels. Right now, if you go, this is backend. Only maybe 4 or 5 kind of delivery guys will be roaming around. So that is the change, right? So that is the managerial decision, because demand is not coming from this area right now. So rather than deploying them there,